Too many rides here. It's another day in the garage. Phase 7. Phase 7. I've got parts strewn out all over the shop. Let's get with it.
Phase 7. We're into Phase 7 now. Episode 1 has got to do with the stuff on the lower portion of the machine, the foot controls and such. First thing I'm going to do here is put on the shifter so that I can put it in gear and get this old sprocket off of here. As far as the shifter goes, getting it on to leave room for your boot to get under it for upshift. The distance up and down between gears is shorter than the distance between first and going up into second. It's a longer throw. That's where you hit right here if you have installed your shifter too high. So I want the shifter as high as possible so that I can get my boot under it, yet I don't want it so high that it interferes with the case as I'm trying to shift. So that's the spot right there. Now the thing about sprockets on an XR is they move around. This is the sprocket that came with it when I bought it. When I went to buy this bike, when I went to look at it before I bought it, the owner and I took off the sprocket because I wanted to see how much wear was on the spline of the countershaft. They don't make countershafts anymore. And that's an OEM type sprocket.
We're going to use a Fritzko sprocket because they're thicker. The more contact area on the spline, the less possibility of wear. Besides that, the Fritzko sprocket is reversible. So you can turn it over and wear the other side of the sprocket teeth.
And if you take a look at the splines, they don't have any wear on them. These keepers can wear out. So you want to keep an eye on that too, because the more worn out this gets, the more back and forth motion you're going to have. Okay, that's good. Now if you look at this, in and out it can't go, and there's hardly any movement there. Just a little bit. So I'm happy with that. Next in episode 1 of Phase 7, we're going to do the foot pegs. We need to get some pegs on here. And as you notice, the foot peg springs that came off of the 2000 number 2K, are in excellent shape. They still have their finish on them. Pivot pegs. Now these are really nice because they give you a little bit of pivoting to get your boot underneath the shifter. And not only that, they have the widest platform you can find out there to stand on, so it's more comfortable for the instep of your foot. These pivot pegs are way better than the cast steel ones that were on there. Those cast steel ones you can get for 20 bucks on eBay. These are like $167. Haven't crashed on them yet. We'll see how they hold up when I do. Next, I'd like to get a magnetic drain plug on. I have an OEM drain plug in here for now. Throughout history, I've had some trouble sealing up this. and consequently oil drips on the ground. And you shouldn't have any leaks out of a Honda. They just shouldn't leak. So there's your OEM unit. Even though I use a new crush washer whenever I can, they still leak sometimes. So my little trick to stop that from happening is to take the crush washer and put Teflon tape on it. And the way I do it is I fold it over so that I get it covering both surfaces like this. And you just need to go around about 3 times. And it gives you a little barrier that works pretty well. And they're aluminum. You gotta watch out you don't tighten these down so far that you break them off. And that's the whole idea, is you're trying to crush the crush washer enough not to leak, and you end up busting it off there in your case. So there we go. I'm not having so much trouble or any leaks here at the frame. Don't over tighten it. You want to make sure that you've got your stator wire shoved up inside of this spot real good. You don't want this to come loose and get in the chain or anything like that. So it goes in between this thread socket and sits just like that, nice and shoved in. You know, this is a nice kickstand, except for it's bent. I'll try to salvage it later. It appears they've got it jacked up. Doesn't want to unthread.
See how that's not straight right there? Somebody's been starting this on the kickstand. Never do that. Standing up on there, jumping on the bike, trying to start it, bending the kickstand.
Okay, so the 1991 decommissioned machine, its kickstand is going on, and it's really not too bad, but I'm going to try to fix that up better.
I'll show you these kickstands side by side in a minute.
So here's 2 kickstands side by side. We've got the decommissioned 1991 Honda. It's lacking almost all its paint, but I'm not going to paint it. I'm going to use it, but I'm not going to paint it. It's straight as opposed to this one. That is not straight. The 2000 K2, not straight. They both have issues out here in the opening. See how that's widened out? It actually doesn't have that good of a foot either. And I'm going to try to straighten that a little bit. It doesn't have a lot of paint on it. And I'm not going to paint it. Okay, so what I need to fix that up is a piece of steel. My plan is to clamp down on this area. If you look at this, if you take a look at this, you can see that it's mostly bent from halfway through the hole, and then that's bent there. This piece of steel is about the right thickness. I'm just going to cut a piece off that'll fit in there. The idea is to take something good and strong and support the inner side here so I don't collapse this too far, and then try to squeeze this down. And we don't want to lose our alignment, so I'm going to go ahead and install that. Okay, here we go with our initial attempt to squeeze this. I can see it's doing it. I'll probably be able to go with that. I'll go test it on the frame. You want to make sure that you don't have it too tight. And yeah, there's still some play. I'm going to squeeze that a hair more. The other thing is this, the footing. I need to see if I can bash that straight just a little. There, that's better than it was. Before we actually try to put this on, let's put some marine grade grease on it. Look at that, hardly moves. You know, you gotta have some play. Okay, so we're almost to the end of the travel on those threads, and you want to draw this up tight so that the forks don't get split out again. You wouldn't leave that loose. You don't want to tighten it so much that it doesn't operate, and I think we're already there. This is what really matters too, having this on the back side nice and tight so it doesn't back off. That's feeling pretty good, and look at that, hardly moves. It's got to be loose enough to operate. Never try to start your bike on the kickstand.
Jumping on the bike, bending the kickstand.
Here we've got the kicks. It's an OEM kickstand spring, but you want this long area here to go up top near the pivot, and this will be down the kickstand, hooking onto the kickstand here. So this end hooks to the frame. And then if you're looking at it on the bike, it should go like this. It should sit on the bike to the frame here, to the kickstand there, and like this, not like that. You got it? It goes on this way. How do you like it? So you kick it down with your foot, and when you go like this, it pops up real nice. And just listen to the sound of it. It's solid. You wouldn't want to do it wrong. Actually, the OEM placement of the spring was probably opposite. In other words, it was the way I showed you not to do it. But since I've lost springs, I always do it this way now.
There's too many rides here. That about does it for the left side of the bike. Taking care of drain plugs. Got the shifter installed, brand new sprocket, routed the stator wires, installed a foot peg, fixed up the kickstand. It's all good. Now we'll move over to the right side of the bike. I've got some things to take care of over here. We've come to the right side of the bike. We're going to try to put the kickstart on. There's two locations on the notches that you can put this on. They both work. If you put it on this notch, you tend to hit your header. If you put it one notch back, it tends to hit on the frame here. And that's the one I prefer. So it looks like we're there, and let's do it. Let's put her on. Okay, done deal. That was easy. We're going to install the rear brake. This is a very important part of the bike because it wears out. You know, they really should have put a Zerk fitting in on this in order to facilitate lubing it up. There is a seal on the inside and the outside of it, which you can hardly see there. Most bikes with so much dirt on there, you wouldn't know it has a seal. But this becomes a very loose area just due to all the times you've hit the brakes is what it amounts to. And so I want to put it on nice and lubed up. And first, let's get the inside of there somewhat clean. Shove a rag through. Okay, as far as installation goes, here's your important surface right here. And we want to put some marine grade waterproof grease on here. Make the best of this. We'll put some inside and we'll put some on here. When you go to look at an XR600 for sale,
this is something to look at. It gives you a good indication of how used the bike is, regardless. The trip meter turns over every 100 miles. So you never know. Especially these ones that have been plated and they never put a speedometer on there. I'm telling you which way to orient the cotter key. You've got your washer on the back side. Look at that, that still has the zinc coating on it, which is great. Goes up against the seal on the back. And if you put your cotter key in from underneath like this, orientation wise, it's way easier to get it out, to pull it out of there. If you put it in from the top, it's very difficult, or could cause you trouble, or maybe you've got an excellent way of doing it, but I'm just saying I've struggled with it before. And then the other thing is, you don't have to bend these all the way over, like around, all the way around. Just bend them over so that you can reuse it, and so it's easier to get out of there. So although you can't see this, I'm bending it. Same thing with the orientation of the cotter key here. You want to put it in from the bottom. It's way easier to get it out of there. Put it in from the bottom and then spread these out up top. And just spread those out like a V, like this, so that it can't come out of there. We have to put the foot peg on the right side. Now we're using the foot peg off of 2K. It belongs on this bike. It came off this bike. And look at it. It looks like it's brand new still. Not necessarily the paint, but this area here gets all rusted out because of water getting into here. To prevent that from happening, I'm going to put a small amount of clear silicone. Just enough to make a bit of a seal. Originally, when it came from the factory, it had red Loctite on the threads of this bolt. I don't feel I need that. It's an OEM self-locking nut, so I'm not all worried about it. And I got the silicone there to seal it. Okay, and I don't care how you put your cotter key on this one, but remember you need a washer. After putting the dowel through, you put your washer on, and in this case I'm shoving the cotter key in. You want these folded around as far as you can get them. We do have to put on a brake spring. Now one thing that I've always hated is this outer plastic sheathing that goes over the spring. I'm not so sure what good it can do. And they don't stay in place. They always work their way up and off of there. Like if you were to center it on here good, use the brake, go for a ride and come back, you'll find it's no longer in good shape. It's out of place. So on one of my other bikes, I just took the outer sheathing off of there. I can't see where it's protecting anything or doing anything. That's about the end of episode 1 in phase 7. We've got the pivot pegs on this side installed. We've got the brake installed, kickstarter. Everything looks really good over here. I'm happy with it. I'll see you in the next phase. You know, it'll be episode 2 of phase 7 coming up. Don't miss it. You You're not going to want to miss it, that's for sure.
standing up on there, jumping on the bike, trying to start it, bending the kickstand.